And that person is an expert in guiding you to what exactly is the right thing for you to be doing at your specific point in your life. Timing is everything. You're 55 years old. You have $117,000 in a 401k. You're contributing $618 a month. You have 3 kids that, 2 of them are getting ready to go to college. You need a certain amount of extra income. You want to grow that's a customized plan to that individual. Putting that together and beginning to formulate that relationship and that strategy and the vision. Close your eyes and picture where you want to be in 2, 3, 5, 10 years. What does that picture look like? And if you don't like the looks of it, do something. Call us. Our message is resonating, folks. I hope it's resonating with you as well.
Right. And we have a few more seats remaining for this half-day class. If you want to get educated, if you want to learn how to change your life and plan for your financial future, give us a call right now. We have a few more seats remaining. Class is free for you listeners. 954-668-2510. 954-668-2510. They have classes during the week and the weekends. If you live in Palm Beach, give us a call. You live in Broward County, you live in Miami, give us a call and get your seat reserved. We have a few more seats remaining. 954-668-2510. 954-668-2510. And we talk about wealth management. A lot of people out there, they have 401ks, they have IRAs. But how many of you out there actually have insurance on your retirement accounts? How many of you know how to protect your accounts from a market crash? And no, I'm not talking about just taking all your money and moving into cash, all right? Because with inflation, you will still lose money sitting in cash. Now, there's a lot of different things, listeners, you could do to protect your money. If the markets were to drop 50% in the next 6 months, how much would that cost? I mean, if you have $100,000 and the markets were to drop 50%, how much is that going to cost you? Well, it'll cost you $50,000. Now, here's the thing, listeners. Could that $50,000 turn back into $100,000? Sure, maybe, if your timeline's long enough, but, it doesn't always come back. But if you were to ride the markets down, how many years of contributions did that just cost you?
But folks, if you're in your 60s or 70s, you cannot hope and pray and cross your fingers. Blake calls it hopium. I think that's hysterical. You can't pray that the markets are going to come back in 6 years. You have no way of knowing. If you don't learn how to make money in a falling market, then you're missing out. Markets go down twice as fast as they go up. Your ability to double or triple how much you have in your retirement accounts are just sitting there waiting for you to take advantage of them. Those opportunities don't come every day.
Absolutely. And, the sad thing is, most people out there, they don't buy flood insurance until after the flood. And, listener, the markets are at all-time highs right now. This is the time before the flood to learn how to protect your accounts, as well as learn how to make money from the next market crash. How many of you right now listening would love to be that jerk at the office, that next time the markets are down 30, 40, 50%, and everyone else at work is pissed off because they lost all their money? How many of you want to be that guy who could be like, hey, I'm up 45% this year. I'm having a great year. Well, if you want to be that jerk, I know a lot of students do. When I ask that question in class,
I don't
everyone's hand goes up. I want to be that guy. You can learn how to do this.
This has been the Trader's Edge Radio Show, brought to you by Online Trading Academy in South Florida. If you're tired of losing money in your mutual funds or 401ks just because the market goes down, or if you're looking for a way to make extra money on top of your full-time job, learn the right way to make trades and how banks and institutions are making money in up, sideways, and down markets with the patented rules-based strategy taught only at Online Trading Academy. This is the only trading campus in South Florida. Call now to attend a free class to see how it works and if it's right for you. Bring a friend. Free half-day classes are in Broward and now our new location in Palm Beach.
What if you got rewarded for every good decision? What if your heart had a special way of letting you know it appreciates your healthy choices?
I've got to get my family to eat more vegetables.
Amazing!
And instead of cooking with butter tonight, I think I'll saute our veggies with heart-healthy oil.
You're a genius!
So really, would your food choices pay off in heart health? Did you know that when you replace bad fats with healthier fats, like those in canola or other vegetable oils, it can lower bad cholesterol levels? And that's good for your heart. Here's a winning idea. Take up the challenge for good health, because the you of the future will say,
Fantastic!
Learn more at heart.org/facethefats. Canola Info proudly supports the American Heart Association's Face the Fats campaign.
As a mother, you don't want to have to worry about this bill is coming, but then she needs this chemo. That's a decision you shouldn't have to make.
El que San Jude no cobra ni un centavo para nosotros significa quitarnos todo ese estrés, esa preocupación y podernos enfocar en nuestra hija.
That was the first thing I was like, how are we going to do this? When St. Jude told us that we didn't have to pay a single bill, I was like, wow. They pretty much have saved us.
It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders, and now your focus is supporting this child.
There is not another hospital like St. Jude. The patient care is unmatchable. It saved my life. It saved my daughter's life. It saved our family.
Before his injury, John Bennett was a career soldier. While serving in Iraq, he was shot by a sniper.
Stepped out, turned back towards the Humvee, and as soon as I did, I got hit. It shattered 2 vertebrae and fractured another one. I ended up losing my right kidney, my spleen, my colon, and half my pancreas.
John's wife, Dina.
Paralyzed Veterans of America got us our benefits.
Senior National Service Officer Michael Killen.
I helped him fill out the forms. I hand-carried the forms over to the VA and walked them through the system.
You're just trying to survive, and they help you along the way.
It's very nice to see when your work pays off and you're very successful in it, because you can see the change in that veteran.
Him starting a taxidermy business is accomplishing something every day.
I'm glad to be back to work.
To learn more about Paralyzed Veterans of America, visit pva.org, a public service of Paralyzed Veterans of America.
After the phone interview, I assumed the apartment was mine, but when I got to the place and the manager saw me, he told me it was no longer available.
My husband and I wanted to see all the neighborhoods with great schools, but our real estate agent only showed us the communities where she thought we would be more comfortable.
I was so excited to move into my new place, but now that I'm here, I found out that the landlord is charging me higher rent than my neighbors. Now that doesn't make me feel very welcome.
These individuals may have experienced housing discrimination. The Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination because of race, color, national origin, religion, sex, disability, and familial status. If you've experienced discrimination, call 1-800-669-9777 or visit www.hud.gov/fairhousing. Live free from housing discrimination.
My name is Joe Thompson. I'm 29 years old and I have a career that I love as a systems analyst. Career. It still sounds cool to say that word. I never could have gotten on this path without a college degree. And if the college me were here, he'd tell you.
I never would have gotten to college without Big Brothers Big Sisters. I could have ended up anywhere, on the streets even. But college? Joe Thompson? Not likely. My big brother helped me out. He taught me I could do anything, at a time when a lot of people were saying just the opposite.
And to a 7-year-old, that means a lot. My big brother's name is Phil, and Phil is the reason that this 7-year-old grows up to be a systems analyst.
Whether you donate money or time, you're helping Big Brothers Big Sisters help a child, and that can last a lifetime. Start something today at bigbrothersbigsisters.org. Brought to you by Big Brothers Big Sisters and the Ad Council.
Talk 1470 WWNN Pompano Beach, Boca Raton, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
AM 1470 WNN with more of what you need to know. Here are the latest from Invite Health with Jerry Hickey, weekdays at 9 on AM 1470 WNN.
And now a stock market moment by Online Trading Academy.
Then I get an email, and last October the email said, I'm now consistently have been for the last 3 months making $300 a day. $300 a day represents $75,000 extra a year on top of my pension and my Social Security.
We can teach you how to generate income in the markets, whether the markets are going up, down, or sideways.
If you're the type of person that can follow a set of rules, I'd love to see you here at the Academy.
Tired of losing money in your mutual funds or 401ks just because the stock market goes down? Since 1997, Online Trading Academy has taught over 100,000 people the right way to trade stocks, options, futures, and Forex in a real classroom setting. See for yourself how money is made in down markets at a free half-day class at Online Trading Academy. Call to reserve a seat, 561-674-9800. 561-674-9800. That's 561-674-9800.
Talk health. Talk wealth. Talk politics. Talk 1470. WNN.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Are you a family caregiver? Are you caregiving for someone who can no longer take care of themselves? Are you overwhelmed? This is Caregiver Solutions Info with Marcia Teele. Marcia will be hosting an hour of true stories and information, tips and updates of the latest research and necessary information in the caregiving field, focusing on you, the family caregiver. An Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert, Marcia has 15 years of hands-on experience at Arden Courts, a leader in assisted living dementia communities here in the U.S. Marcia covers everything you need to know as a family caregiver, especially if you care for a loved one with Alzheimer's disease or other related dementia or chronic illness. If you have a friend or relative that is also a family caregiver, call them now. They won't want to miss a minute. And let them know they can watch on caregiversolutions.info. And they can listen on WNN 1470 AM in South Florida or nationally on the iHeartRadio app. Now, sit back, relax, and learn from our host, Marcia Teele, as she brings information to you that may just be the caregiving solution you need.
Securities are offered through AXA Advisors, LLC, New York, New York, member of FINRA and SIPC. Insurance and annuity products are offered through AXA Network, LLC. AXA Advisors and AXA Network do not provide tax or legal advice. Welcome, everybody, to Caregiver Solutions. I'm so happy that you're here and could join us this week. We have another awesome show for you. My name is Marcia Teele. I am your host every Tuesday, 5 to 6 Eastern Time. I'm so glad you're here. We are live out of Boca Raton, Florida. And before we get started, I want to thank our national sponsor, Arden Courts Memory Care Community. Arden Courts is an expert in the field of caring for people with Alzheimer's and dementia. And there are approximately 52 Arden Courts scattered throughout the United States. Arden Courts is a leader in the field, and as such, they like to educate caregivers as well as caring for people that do have memory loss. One of the things that Arden Courts would like to do for you, the family caregiver, is offer a free book to you. This is called the 36-Hour Day book. It is an awesome book for caregivers, and it is free to you just for asking. All you have to do is call Arden Courts Memory Care Community on their toll-free number, which is 888-478-2410. Tell them you heard about this offer on the Caregiver Solutions Info Show, and they'll be happy to get your name and address and mail a book right to you. This book is full of tips and information on being a caregiver, on being a more effective caregiver, on the differences, on the different kinds of dementia, and I think you'll find it very interesting. So give them a call, 888-478-2410, and get this book just for you. This is something that is important because education is the key when you're a caregiver. You, as a caregiver, probably never thought that you would have to be a caregiver because it's something you're never prepared for unless maybe you've already had it in your family growing up with a grandparent or another relative. But if you're a spouse or you're an adult child and you're dealing with caregiving for someone with memory loss, you're on a new journey and probably one that you've never had to travel before. So this show was created just for you, the family caregiver. We ask the questions and you get the answers from experts in the field on all kinds of subjects dedicated to caregiving, dementia, and even you get to hear from real-life caregivers who have walked in your shoes and are walking in your shoes. So I want to encourage you to call, get the book, tune in every week for this program. It's a great resource. We're very happy that Art in Court sponsors this so that we can provide it to you on a national level. We have something new now called the Local Caregiver Corner, and this is something that I want to give a shout out to the folks that are listening via local radio. We're on 1470 AM in the listening area between Fort Pierce and Fort Lauderdale in South Florida, and soon to go to FM. So that's very exciting. We'll be able to reach a lot more caregivers. And so for our local caregivers, we have some community events we'd like to share with you to give you the opportunity to learn about things that are educational in nature for you that perhaps you would not know about otherwise. The first thing that I'd like to tell you about is a free educational seminar called Untangling Dementia. Now, this is provided free of charge to caregivers. If you're a caregiver and you want to learn about how to untangle all the different aspects of dementia and learn how to be a more effective caregiver, this is actually for you. It's going to be on a Tuesday, November 15th, and there's 2 sessions, 10 to 12 and 2 to 4. It's going to be held at the Art and Courts of West Palm Beach, which is on Village Boulevard in West Palm. The guest speaker is Dr. Tam Cummings. Now, she is a gerontologist, and she has actually written a book called Untangling Alzheimer's, The Guide for Families and Professionals. She's going to be talking about the differences between Alzheimer's and the different dementias, the 7 stages of Alzheimer's and dementia, common behavioral, emotional, and physical changes that can take place as dementia progresses. So the space is limited, but we're giving you a heads up so you can call, make your reservation now. In order to do that, you can call Art and Courts of West Palm Beach, and that number is 561-688-9999. Easy number to remember. Again, 561-688-9999. This is going to be an excellent presentation. You will have an opportunity to meet Dr. Cummings, ask questions, and get one of her books. The other thing that I'd like to announce in Caregiver Corner is another event coming up on Thursday, December 1st at St. Andrew's Country Club in Boca Raton. This is an event that benefits Alzheimer's Community Care. It's called the Yellow Brick Road. There's no place like home. It's a luncheon and fashion show with a silent auction to benefit Alzheimer's Community Care, which is a nonprofit organization. And you want to be sure to try to attend this. It's going to be an awesome program. So, that being said, here we are. I'm going to take a little sip. Got a little tickle going on here. Excuse me. So we're going to be talking about something very important today. Long-term care insurance. What is long-term care? Do I need long-term care? Do my parents need long-term care? How can it benefit me? And how do I know about it? Well, you're going to want to take notes because we're going to have an awesome program today talking about long-term care. As a matter of fact, November is National Long-Term Care Awareness Month. So how convenient is that? So I'm going to turn this over to give lots of information to our special guests we have with us today. And my special guest, hi guys.
Hi Marcia.
Our special guest we have is Frank Rikas and Rania Jodi. Now, Frank and Rania both work at AXA Advisors, and Rania is a certified financial planner, and Frank is also a financial professional. And they're here to talk about long-term care insurance with us. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for being here. This is very appropriate, being that it's the first part of November, and it is National Long-Term Care Awareness Month. Who would have known, right? It's perfect for that. So before we get started, I know that both of you, between the two of you, you have over 23 years of experience, in this field. Tell me what prompted you, Frank, why don't you answer this? What prompted you to go into the field of financial planning or financial advising in long-term care specifically? Do you have any experience in your family where long-term care maybe played a part?
I don't have any experience in my family where long-term care insurance played a role. Where I used to live in a neighborhood, a neighbor of mine, her husband passed away from complications of not only Alzheimer's but Parkinson's. And then a very good friend of mine has it in their family, and you can not that I see what happens on a daily basis, but I'm aware of what goes on and the effects that it has on the family and, the pressure that it puts on the family as a whole. So that's one reason why I've, acclimated myself to be knowledgeable about it and like working in that area.
Right, and be an advocate for that, for the people that really need it. So many people that I talk to over the 16 years almost that I've been doing this and helping caregivers, a lot of people have long-term care and a lot of people don't. So it's important to know if you need it or not, right?
Absolutely.
You're right. So what about you, Rania?
Well, this is really, I'm a big advocate of long-term care, and I see it on a daily basis because my dad was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia about 2 to 3 years ago, and I go through it every single day with my sister. Fortunately, he's still with medication, doing really well, and I'm very happy about that. But it is a struggle that we see every single day, and he's going to be about 84 years old, and I know it's just going to get worse. So long-term, I'm a big advocate of long-term care because, again, I see it on a daily basis. My dad does not have it. It was never part of his planning when he was younger, and of course, when you get older, it becomes even harder to get it. So that's why we talk to our clients all the time. Long-term care is one of the most important, planning that you need to do throughout your life.
Right. So let's start from the beginning. LTC, long-term care insurance, all right? It's different from a lot of other types of insurances. So can you explain in layman's language what long-term care insurance actually is?
Well, long-term care insurance is an insurance product that will pay benefits for you if you need care at home, if you need care in an assisted living, adult daycare, or ultimately a nursing home and maybe even hospice care, depending on the policy that you buy. And it's there to really take the pressure, hopefully, off of family members so that your caregiver isn't a family member, because that's typically the first line of defense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that, like Rania mentioned, that we're discussing with our clients now all the time and trying to make it part of our overall planning process.
Yeah, this was something that not too many years ago people really never discussed or talked about. I know it's different, of course, than term insurance and whole life insurance and medical insurance and health insurance. It's different. It's a different animal. And a lot of people don't understand, what it can do for them, and that's why we have this program. So this is awesome. So tell me what it can do for somebody.
Well, what long-term care insurance can do is it'll help you receive care that you need, and hopefully you're able to receive this care at home. Obviously, situations arise where, you might need more specific care or around-the-clock care, and that's going to require that you go either into an assisted living, adult daycare, or a nursing home. The biggest thing I think that it does and that we discuss with our clients is, again, taking the pressure off the children. The other thing, too, is that it will help protect your assets. Everybody works very hard. They save, they put money away for retirement, and honestly, a long-term care incident can wipe out your savings. It can wipe out your retirement. So by having protection of a policy, you are able to ultimately leave money to your heirs so that they'll have, hopefully, a better life and not exhaust your savings.
All your life savings.
Right.
So it sounds like it's like a nest egg or an insurance policy to help you protect your assets, which is really part of financial planning. So part of your whole picture, right, of financial planning could involve long-term care insurance as part of that planning, right?
Well, perhaps the first question you should really ask yourself, have you ever been involved in providing extended care to a family member? How would you feel if you needed care for 3 months, 4 months, or maybe years? the cost associated with such care could literally deplete your lifelong savings. Plus, caregiving can place a significant physical and mental burden on spouses,
Absolutely.
on family members that we all would like to avoid eventually. So yes, do we need long-term care? Most of us at least do need long-term care.
Okay, that was my next question, because when we talk about who needs long-term care, and you said most, and it's a way to preserve assets. So would a multi-millionaire, billionaire necessarily need to purchase long-term care insurance?
That's probably not someone that's going to be purchasing this type of product. I guess you could say they've self-insured, or they're able to self-insure at this point. It's really meant for people that are below that income level or savings level, so that they can preserve their assets. There's no typical scenario, because every situation is different. No two people are the same. No two couples are the same. And that's why it's important to have the discussion to see, is it right for you from a financial standpoint as far as the premiums go? And do you have the assets to protect?
Right. Well, that's very important, because self-insuring means that someone has the wherewithal financially to pay for all of their care without worrying that it's going to dip below or get them, into trouble, and they would never probably outlive all of their assets, even if they had to spend it with 24-hour-a-day care, because they were fortunate enough to be able to amass enough money to take care of them. But that's not typical of your average person, certainly not, most people. And so this is what we're talking about for typical caregivers, typical average people that unfortunately, as a caregiver, you're seeing how much it does cost to take care of someone. It's very expensive. A lot of times people have to actually quit their job to be able to care for somebody. And now if you're quitting your job to be able to care, where's the income coming from? All right. Not only are you, taking care of somebody, but now you have no income and you're spending the money that you did have up to the point where you had to quit your job. So there's a lot of consequences that happen when someone becomes a caregiver. And we want to talk about those things, because just to be aware, and of course this is Awareness Month for long-term care insurance. So we're going to take our first commercial break and thank our sponsors, and we will be right back with lots more information about long-term care insurance.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live, it's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help, because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides.
Being unable to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's or related dementias, even among their caregivers. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know, we understand, we can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines. Somewhere at the corner of bewildered and confused is a lost mother, a father, a sibling, a grandparent. Wandering is a common symptom of Alzheimer's or related dementias, and can often make those who care for a loved one feel just as lost. If you're looking for a place that's safe and secure, look to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know, we understand, we can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts.
Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
Hi, and welcome back to Caregiver Solutions Info. I'm here with AXA Advisors, Frank Rikas and Rania Jati, and we're talking about long-term care insurance, what it is, what it means, do I need it, and all the details about it. So again, guys, thanks for being here, because this is very important for everyone, not just caregivers, but for everyone, because I think a lot of adult children who are now taking care of their loved ones and maybe parents that have dementia, because that's my world, that I come from the dementia Alzheimer's world, and adult children are seeing how much it costs to take care of a loved one. They're probably thinking, wow, too bad mom or dad doesn't have long-term care to help pay for this. Maybe I should be thinking about this for myself. Absolutely. So that's what we want to talk about and go through all the, questions that the caregivers out there would want to ask and need to know, because we ask the questions and you give them the answers. You're the experts on this. So now that we've explained what long-term care insurance is and what it can do for you, how does someone start planning? What's the first thing that someone should even think about doing?
Well, there's a great quote that says, when it comes to long-term care, your money pays for it, but your money buys it. No, I gotta do this again. Your money pays for it, but your health buys it. So I was trying to remember the quote, and so what it means is you are never younger or healthier than you are today. So if you are to incorporate long-term care planning, there are two key factors to really remember. At a younger age, you may qualify for some health discounts that people may not know about. So you're healthy, you're young, you apply for the long-term care and you qualify for those discounts, and you could keep the discounts for the rest of your life, and that's a big saving. Even if your health changes, you keep those savings. The second thing you need to remember is when you apply at a younger age, your premiums are likely to be lower than if you wait too long. Eventually, the insurance company, they have their own calculation. You're going to end up paying for it today or tomorrow. So it's so much better to try to apply for it at a much younger age when you're healthy.
So when you were talking about a young age, are we talking about people in their 40s and 50s?
Absolutely. Even we have seen people applying for it at even a younger age, because again, if something happens to you health-wise, you may not be able to get coverage, or your coverage may be limited to certain because of your health issues. So you're actually never too young to start applying. We have seen people applying for long-term care in the late 20s, early 30s, only because they go through that with their families.
Wow. So they see the importance of it and they want to be prepared.
Yes.
Wow. That is pretty early. I don't know many 20-year-olds that think that far ahead, but it might be just because they're not aware of this.
Well, the thing that you have to remember is long-term care is no longer an age issue. Long-term care could be used for anything. It could be cancer. It could be an accident. You're driving on 95, you can get into an accident, and you eventually are going to need services that would cover a lot of long-term care needs. So that's where people are starting to incorporate all that. You can't really think of it as an old age
and I'm
policy.
glad you said that, because it's not an old age policy.
Yes.
Although if you're lucky enough, you might not have to use it until you're older, even if you have it when you're younger. And if you take out long-term care insurance, then that you've got that in your back pocket if anything were to happen to you, whether it be, like you said, a health issue, an accident, or God forbid, later down in life, and you get Alzheimer's or some other related dementia, then you're
Right.
pretty much covered. Mm-hmm. So that's good to plan for that. And the earlier you start, obviously, the better.
Yes, absolutely. And sometimes not everybody can literally qualify for long-term care because they have waited way too long, and now we have health issues that that may surface while you're doing your application that people the insurance is not aware of, and next thing you know, you're declined. But if you do have any health issues, always discuss those with your financial professional, because it doesn't mean that you're going to be declined automatically. Discuss with the financial advisor and disclose everything that is going on, and there is always a way to get coverage.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so if I have a health issue, I know probably the underwriting is very strict when you're talking about getting long-term care insurance. You have to answer a lot of questions and and probably, I don't know, do you have to take a physical?
With most companies, you don't actually have to take a physical. We go through a very thorough underwriting process with a questionnaire that we ask a lot of questions about your background, your medical history, and then depending on how those questions are answered, the companies are going to go to your physician and request, typically your medical records. Now, those are things that we never see because we're not allowed to see them. But if you're able to disclose specific health issues to us, we can kind of help navigate the policy design and the company to go to who would be most beneficial for you.
So don't always assume that you're going to be declined because you have certain issues.
Okay, because I do know of families that wanted to get long-term care insurance, but unfortunately for their particular person who was already diagnosed with Alzheimer's, they were denied because they already had the official diagnosis of Alzheimer's, and therefore it was too late for them, and so we want to be aware of the timing of all of this. You all are representing lots of different companies, right?
Yes.
As your, would that be considered your kind of like a long-term care insurance broker type? Where you represent a lot of different kinds of insurance companies?
Yeah, I think that'd be one way to actually say it, because you want to work with someone who can bring some choice to you.
Okay.
And so that you can actually compare different policies. It's not just price, it's also benefit and actually the way the specific contract works. We never know what's right for some person until we actually sit down with them, go over their financial situation, and also look at what type of benefits they're trying to design. And then based on that, we can help steer them in a direction that's most beneficial for them and their family.
I think that's great because you can look at that individual's situation, all their particulars, and then it's almost like designing something just for them because you have access to all the different companies that provide long-term care that you could pick and choose. Well, this one's really better over this one because of XYZ, or this one is better because it offers you ABC, and then you have that ability to give the consumer the choice. And I think that's really, really important, that you are able to do that. It's always good to have a choice, right? So what happens if somebody really does have a health issue already? Like you said, don't assume.
Don't assume.
Don't assume.
Always speak with your advisor and be honest because your advisor is there to help you. We don't like surprises. Sometimes there are certain things that are not disclosed, and then we end up with different surprises. So be honest, and there's always ways. Now, yes, not everybody qualifies. Not everybody's able to get coverage.
Right.
But like I said, always try. Never assume that you're going to be in immediate decline.
So if you have an issue, maybe you're not going to get the same policy as somebody who doesn't have an issue, but there might be benefits there for you.
Right.
Maybe you'll pay, a higher premium because of it. Maybe you won't get as much benefit out of it, but there might be something for you.
And we always tell everybody, having something is better than not having anything at all. Just something, just to help you through the process.
That's right.
And sometimes what we do is before we actually meet with someone, we're going to, I'll say, pre-screen on the telephone, ask you a little bit of a background, so that before you come in, if we know something about your medical history, we can kind of have an idea and maybe call and speak to someone that can give us an idea of, will this particular situation be covered or not?
Okay, so you can kind of scout out the information for them.
Doesn't mean that's a guarantee, though. So I need to disclose that up front.
Well, there are no guarantees for pretty much anything because, it's not done until it's done. So like you said, you have to lay it all out on the table. You want to collect all that information, but there's no harm in trying.
Right.
Right, and that's, I think,
and that's our job. We're there to help you.
Right. And I think the job of the caregivers and everyone else out there, their job is to be prepared. And, we kind of preach that a lot on this program is be prepared. Even if you don't need it, be prepared.
Right.
And so long-term care is part of that preparation. So I want to ask another question. Who's going to benefit from this? Okay, obviously it's going to be the person who takes ill, right? But are there other benefits? In other words, are you going to take care of them, whether it's sending them to a day center, sending them to an assisted living, sending them to a nursing home? Because it depends on how the policy is written, what the benefit is, right?
Right.
So explain, a little bit about those differences, because not all policies are the same. Some have different aspects, some include certain benefits and some don't, right?
Right. I mean, obviously, the person that's insured is the one that's going to benefit the most. And by having a policy, you have flexibility. Now, it also is going to take some of the burden, again, off the family, because family members may not be qualified to take care of someone who has a specific situation that might need round-the-clock care or specific medical attention. So the first thing is that, the insured has that flexibility and hopefully that choice. Obviously, things happen. You may need to go into a nursing home, but most people want to stay home because, again, that's where they're most comfortable. Policies can offer the optional services of what we call a care coordinator. Now, a care coordinator is someone that will come in and assess your situation and develop a plan of care specifically for you. No two people with cancer are going to go through the same type of treatment because every situation is different. Could be age-related, could be the type of cancer that you have. Also, by having a care coordinator and using that as part of your coverage, you might be eligible for some additional benefits that maybe you can get from your actual policy so that you can enhance your current coverage. I like to say that, there's no place like home. Everybody wants to have care at home. And hopefully your long-term care policy that you purchase will give you that option to stay at home. And also it's going to help you, with maybe fixing up some things at home. You need a ramp. You need a rail in the bathtub. So
it can cover that?
Certain policies, up to a certain amount, can have you do a few things while you're at home to help make your home safer.
Wow. So that's going to benefit everybody. It's going to benefit the patient. It's going to benefit the caregiver who's also at home with helping to take care of things and getting things done in the home. That's going to make it easier for everybody.
Right. And it could be something as simple as, personal services, someone to go to the grocery store and pick up groceries, someone to do some housekeeping and cook meals. It could be something very simple as that you're not able to do for yourself. So, there's a lot of different benefits that are going to be there that you may not normally get if you don't have a policy.
Wow, very interesting. Now, you mentioned a care coordinator. Is that a person that is provided through the insurance policy from the insurance company?
Yes, right. Not every policy offers that, and it works differently with every company, but if you have that ability to use that person to help design your plan and your plan of care, you want to take advantage of it. That's very important.
And is that care coordinator somebody who's local near you, or would that be somebody maybe long distance on the phone that would coordinate, or does it matter?
Typically, that's going to be someone that's local. They're going to come in, look at your environment, look at your home, and basically what it is an assessment of your situation, not only medically, but your actual environment. And that's how they're going to design the care for you.
Well, that is so important because, everyone needs different care and everyone's environment is different. And by someone coming into your home to assess, like you said, they're trained to look at safety situations, right? They're trained to say, well, those throw rugs there on the floor aren't too good since you're walking with a walker. That's really a safety hazard.
Sure.
And things that you might not think about. And these are professionals, care coordinators that come in and, lend that expertise personal to your situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And sometimes certain policies also provide for a care coordinator to do that every single year, to assess the safety and adequacy of the place that you're living in. Could be a nursing home, could be assisted living, and it provides you a report on a yearly basis if you ask for it to yourself or to your family members. Some policies covers that.
That could be very helpful, especially to maybe other family members who aren't local, and that they would want to know, how is this working for my parent? And they have the expert on the ground, like they say, boots on the ground, assessing and reporting to that annually. That's very good.
With
Wow,
most policies.
that's great. We're going to take a word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back with Frank and Rania.
Being unable to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's or related dementias, even among their caregivers. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know, we understand, we can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines. Somewhere at the corner of bewildered and confused is a lost mother, a father, a sibling, a grandparent. Wandering is a common symptom of Alzheimer's or related dementias and can often make those who care for a loved one feel just as lost. If you're looking for a place that's safe and secure, look to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know, we understand, we can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines. Feelings of depression, isolation, and frustration are common among persons living with Alzheimer's or related dementias. It's common among those who care for them, too. It takes a lot of patience and courage. It also takes knowing when you can no longer do it alone. At Arden Courts, memory care is all we do. Talk to us. We know, we understand, we can help. Don't let guilt keep you from making the right decision. Visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines.
.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
Hi, and welcome back. We're talking about long-term care insurance and what it is. Do I need it? How do I get it? And with me today is Frank Rikas and Rania Jati, and they're with AXA Advisors here in South Florida. And we're talking about what caregivers should know, what anybody should know, and all the ins and outs. Because I think, people sometimes think it's overwhelming. They don't even know where to start. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to start by telling you that I was actually experiencing what I think a lot of people go through because my mom had an opportunity to get long-term care insurance, and she was healthy, but she was probably in her 70s at the time. And knowing what I know, working with Alzheimer's and dementia for so many years, I thought my mom was going to be down that path of maybe getting dementia because her grandmother, or my grandmother, who's my mom's mom, had Alzheimer's. And I thought, if my mom got Alzheimer's, I would be in a much better financial position to have her live, and get care for her if she had long-term care.
Right.
So when she asked me about it, I said, yes, Mom, get it all. Get the long-term care. Get it for home health. Get it for assisted living. Get it for nursing home. Get it for as much as you can. Get the inflation rider so that, things change and, things cost more, but your benefit will rise. With inflation goes up, you still won't be, back in the pit, what I call the pit. And she did. And you know what turned out? She got all that, and she said, okay, Marcia, I'm going to take your advice. Well, it turned out that she didn't get Alzheimer's. Unfortunately, she got cancer. And she came to Florida. She lived with my sister. And that policy that she took out many years earlier afforded my sister to continue to work and have a caregiver come into my sister's home and help Mom with all her, what we call activities of daily living, right. Bathing, dressing, toileting, whatever Mom needed. And it didn't take away from my sister being still a caregiver, but she was able to work, have the peace of mind knowing that Mom had help at home. And then when my sister got home, then the aide left and my sister was there for the night. That was a godsend, really, to our family to help have that insurance to provide that for my mom. So, I understand when you say people need to be prepared, think about the future, you never know what's going to happen. In my case, it wasn't Alzheimer's that got Mom, it was cancer. It doesn't matter what it is. It's going to be something that's going to impact your family, not only financially, but emotionally and in many, many ways. Right. So I thank you for being here to share all of this with everyone. I want to ask you, there are differences in policies, and just as my example, you can kind of pick what you want to be included, and some people just have home health, some just have nursing home or assisted living, some have all three, some are all inclusive, and that's part of the process, I guess, is when you're going through the cost and looking at it and you're picking and choosing, your custom, because you're customizing this for somebody.
Right.
But when it comes to reimbursement, can you explain the difference between reimbursement versus what they call indemnity style policies? Because I think this is something that's confusing to a lot of people when they're talking about, okay, now I have the policy, now what happens? I have the policy, I need to utilize it. What happens?
Well, the difference between those two types of policies boils down to flexibility. And a reimbursement policy, it may limit what your monthly benefit can be used for. For example, you qualify for long-term care, you satisfy your elimination period, and now you're starting to incur those costs. So you send the receipt to your insurance company. The insurance company looks at your policy and figures out what's covered, and they send you a check for the services that are covered under your policy. Sometimes you might end up paying out of pocket for extra costs that may not be covered by your policy.
So they're actually reimbursing you for what you actually spent, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And an indemnity policy, once you qualify for long-term care and once you satisfy your elimination period, the insurance company starts sending you your check every single month. And you technically, well, I don't want to say technically, but you are free to decide where you want to spend that money. So you don't really have to show receipts. You can use it as you see fit for your own benefit.
Wow, now that's a big difference between those two. And that's something that you set up in the beginning of how you want to structure your long-term care policy?
Right, and without talking about product specifics or company specifics, in the state of Florida, reimbursement policies, if you buy what we call a standalone policy, reimbursement policies are what is available today. Indemnity policies are not available anymore on a standalone policy. However, with certain insurance companies, you can, and this kind of is going maybe a little bit further into a discussion, but it'll prompt some awareness, hopefully, is that you can purchase a cash value life insurance policy, and for an additional premium, you can add a rider for long-term care insurance. And there's two companies that do that, where the long-term care rider is based on an indemnity type benefit. So that's the way in Florida how you can purchase an indemnity style policy.
So is one better than the other?
Can't really answer that question because it depends on the particular situation of the individual or the couple that's involved. Usually we analyze the entire scenario and try to fit what's best for them.
Okay. Now, I know years and years ago, there were a lot of insurance companies and people purchased their policies, and things changed a number of years ago in the industry where a lot of companies really quit writing long-term care because I think that they didn't realize the need that was going to be created and the payment that they were giving out because of the healthcare cost, all of this. Right. So things that had a big shakeup, right, in the industry. So now more than ever, it's really important to understand what is available, right? Because I know when my mom got the policy that she received, it was for lifetime.
Right.
And I don't know, you can probably, confirm this, but I don't know if there's anybody out there that writes lifetime policies anymore.
In the state of Florida, unfortunately, no. We do have some clients that purchased those contracts from us years ago, but those policies are no longer available in the state of Florida. Other states may still have them, but not Florida.
Yeah. So there's big changes. And so you need really, if you're considering long-term care, you need to really get with a professional that understands all the ins and outs because it's not the way it used to be.
Right.
And, lucky for us, we did have that lifetime, but, it's virtually impossible to get it now in the state of Florida. So that's very important to know the differences between that, and that's part of the awareness when you're talking to your advisor. So now we're talking about Medicare because I think a lot of people are under the misconception that, oh, Medicare will take care of me, right? I don't have to do anything. I've got Medicare. I'm 65 or older, and Medicare is going to pay for everything I need. Is that a myth?
You know, it's a great question, and it's probably one of the most misunderstood situations. And if our listeners are going to remember one thing from our discussion this evening, it's this. First off, Medicare was never designed to pay for long-term care insurance services. If Medicare is involved, they're involved only for skilled care only. They're involved up to a certain amount per day, and they will only cover up to the first 100 days of care. After that, Medicare is out of the picture.
That's right. So if you're just thinking, I've got Medicare, I don't need to worry, but that's really a fallacy.
Right.
And mostly Medicare pays for the rehab when
Right.
someone goes to the hospital.
Exactly.
They need physical therapy afterwards or in a rehab center. It's going to pay, like you said, up to, but not necessarily a whole 100 days.
No.
That's true.
It's not
Right.
an entitlement.
Correct.
Depending upon how the person progresses, whether Medicare can continue to pay for that or not.
Right, and we have this discussion with all of our clients who come in and talk to us about long-term care insurance. You know, part of this is education, letting them know what's available, not only with policies, but also how Medicare comes into play or how it really doesn't come into play. And it's a big misconception. I think more and more people are starting to get the idea that it's not part of it. But again, it's all education, and just we want to make sure that everybody is aware of, you know, what's out there.
Right. And I talk about that too with a lot of my customers, that I'm explaining even for assisted living what part Medicare pays for, but assisted living is for the most part private pay out of pocket, and there are some other resources you can tap into to help pay, and long-term care is one of them. But Medicare is the same state to state. Doesn't matter what state you're in, Medicare is the same rules, regulations, no matter what. And Medicare is not going to pay for your long-term care. It's not going to pay for assisted living. But let's talk about Medicaid for a minute. Now, Medicaid is different state to state. And we're in the state of Florida, which we're going to be talking about that. If you're in another state watching this, it's going to be perhaps different in your state, and you would have to find out the rules and regulations for your particular state. But what role does Medicaid play in long-term care?
Another misconception, and you know, you really need to pay attention as well, because with Medicaid, you're only allowed to have a certain amount of assets. Typically, you can't have more than $2,000 in cash. Okay, you can't have any
In assets.
Assets
In the bank.
In the bank,
Okay.
right?
Or under your mattress.
Under your mattress, or you know, in your glove compartment in the car. You know, no retirement plan, no cash value life insurance. You basically have to have nothing. The industry uses the word destitute, so you have to basically be destitute. Now, some people have tried to do what we call remove assets from their estate, but the government has caught on to that, and they have what we call a look-back period. So they'll look back into your history, and they'll go back up to 5 years and see that if you've been strategically moving money from your estate to another heir or to someone else to get it out of your estate, and thinking that you might qualify for Medicaid, and that's just not going to work.
Yeah, that's cheating.
That's one way to put it.
Well, really, you know, if you're not doing the right thing, and they're going to find you because there are rules in place to, you know, protect certain people. But if you're really in need and you really qualify, then, you know, these are the people that, you know, what it's designed for.
Right.
So do people that buy long-term care insurance ever worry that, gee, I'm doing my premiums, I'm paying this money. What if I never have to use this? What happens if, you know, I guess it's a lot like your homeowner's insurance. You buy homeowner's insurance in case you have a fire or a flood, and we all want to insure our homes because that's very valuable to us, right? And we never have a fire or a flood or something that happens, and we never really have to initiate a claim on that homeowner's policy. But I don't think many people say, well, I haven't had to do that for 10 years, so I'm going to cancel my homeowner's insurance. I don't think it doesn't work that way. How does it work with long-term care? Do people think the same way?
Yes, they do, quite a bit. That's a discussion, again, that we seem to have with, you know, everybody that we meet with. If I pay for this, what if I never use it? What happens? So, and I alluded to it a little bit earlier, but There's a couple different ways that you can do this. And first of all, again, without getting product or company specific, one thing you can do is you can purchase an annuity product, as I think we mentioned earlier, and that's going to be a lump sum contribution typically, and you can attach a rider for an additional cost based on your age, and the amount of money that you've contributed will determine what your long-term care benefit is going to be. So that's one way of doing it.
So what's the advantage of that over buying a straight long-term care insurance policy? Because you're talking about a different vehicle, right? So what's the advantage to that? Is that someone gets to keep some of the money? Is that the advantage?
And you've taken a lump sum and you've at least put it into something that is creditor-proof and protected and has the potential to grow as an asset.
So if you don't end up needing your long-term care insurance, you haven't lost everything.
Correct.
Basically,
You still have that annuity.
that's the bottom line.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
the bottom line. And so that would be probably
That's one option.
an option for
Right.
some people that would make them feel a little bit more comfortable.
Right. The other option that's becoming much more popular over the last few years, little while, is, and I think we mentioned this earlier too, is a cash value life insurance policy. So you have a need for life insurance. You have expressed a desire that you want to have long-term care, but you don't want to spend the money and never use it. So you can attach a long-term care insurance rider for an additional cost to your life insurance policy, and now you've got long-term care coverage potentially if you need it.
Mhm.
Whatever is used for long-term care services will be subtracted from your death benefit. And you've kind of covered both situations with one premium at that point, and that's becoming more and more popular over the last few years.
Wow. Is that more popular with younger people?
Yes.
Specifically with younger people.
That maybe have families and they really need life insurance because
Yes. Mhm.
if something happens to them, if they die, they want to leave some insurance, life insurance to their family. They have beneficiaries and they have dependents.
Right.
So again, that's something that you would want to look at if you are dependent upon, for your income or dependent upon to take care of someone, whether you would need life insurance or not. Now, I know a lot of people that, have had children and the children are grown, they're on their own, they're making a good living, everything is rolling along, and sometimes they feel like I don't need to have the life insurance because it doesn't matter, my family's taken care of,
Right.
So in some cases, they might want to take that money and do something else with it. In this case, buy long-term care insurance.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect way of how, we have the discussion with people. And again, it's comprehensive planning, but it's also individualized planning for each person. So
And customized. What is their need?
Right.
Yeah, which is the best. I mean, if you want to do, if you're going to get something, why not have it customized right to you?
Yeah.
That's
Right. Exactly.
Otherwise you're not going to really maybe get what you really need. So
Right.
this is good stuff, guys. So
Good.
we're going to take our last commercial break. We'll be right back.
Being unable to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's or related dementias, even among their caregivers. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know, we understand, we can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines. Somewhere at the corner of bewildered and confused is a lost mother, a father, a sibling, a grandparent. Wandering is a common symptom of Alzheimer's or related dementias and can often make those who care for a loved one feel just as lost. If you're looking for a place that's safe and secure, look to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know, we understand, we can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines. Feelings of depression, isolation, and frustration are common among persons living with Alzheimer's or related dementias. It's common among those who care for them, too. It takes a lot of patience and courage. It also takes knowing when you can no longer do it alone. At Arden Courts, memory care is all we do. Talk to us. We know, we understand, we can help. Don't let guilt keep you from making the right decision. Visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines. Being unable to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's or related dementias, even among their caregivers. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it?
At 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
Hi, we're back, and my guests today are Rania and Frank, and they are advisors with AXA Advisors. Rania is a certified financial planner, and Frank is a financial professional, and we're talking about long-term care insurance. And Rania, I want to ask you, during the break, you said to me that long-term care is really a woman's issue. I mean, explain what that means.
Well, two words, Marcia: longevity and caregiving. Statistically, we all know that women live a lot longer than men. The need for long-term care will be there eventually. We are the caregivers as well. Your mom gets sick, your father gets sick, your husband gets sick. When a husband and a wife, the husband gets sick, it's the wife that's always taking care of the husband. Now the husband is no longer in the picture, and now the woman is widowed and she has no long-term care. So I'm a big advocate for working with women and educating them on the importance of having long-term care. So I say to everybody, if you are single, if you are separated, if you are a widow, please incorporate that in your plan. That is a very important fact that you need to just seriously think about and not just procrastinate.
You know what? That's a great point, because unless you have children that are very, very, very well off and that will do anything for you and spend all their money to take care of you, you're going to want long-term care insurance, because women have to think, I'm not married, I'm widowed, divorced, whatever, I'm single. Who's going to take care of me? Right. Because I'm always the one giving. Who's going to take care of me? So that's
and I see this every day. And I look at the woman and I say, how about you?
Yes.
Because we always tend to give so much, and then we're left, and how about us? Yes. So I'm talking to women all over and educating them, and just do not procrastinate.
Don't procrastinate. And that's perfect, because, again, make your plan, get the information, even if you're not going to be using it now. Talk to the professionals. Get what you need to know before you need to use it. And this is perfect time for you to jot this down, because I'm going to be asking right now, Rania and Frank, how can you contact them if you have questions, if you want to discuss your personal situation, if you want to get together with them to have a phone conversation? Can they do that?
Of course.
Absolutely. Okay. So tell everyone how they can contact you, please.
Well, they can reach me at my office number. My direct line is 561-961-9328, or they can reach me on my cell. 561-654-4476.
Wonderful. Okay.
And for me, you can call my office number, 561-961-9312, or my cell phone, which is 954-253-5508.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Everybody, don't forget, call Arden Courts, 888-478-2410. Get your free 36-hour day book. Join us next week, same time, same place. And in the meantime, don't forget, give someone a hug, because they need it, and so do you.
Thanks for joining us for this week's Caregiver Solutions with Marcia Teele. Join us next week as Marcia, who has 15 years of Alzheimer's disease and dementia care experience, brings you more needed information to help with the care of your loved one. This show can be seen again on caregiversolutions.info, and questions can be left on the site, which may be used on the program to help others. See you next week for more Caregiver Solutions. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly